Here it is. It's going to be a long video, but I've hopefully gotten it as short as possible. Remember, this is a blog about my experience. Each patient is different. So here we go. Did you have issues with insurance? Yes, I damn well did. I fully expected it, and I hired Lori, the insurance warrior. If you need help with insurance and you want to read her books, she has books available, and she is sometimes available for hire to help you write and file an appeal and guide you through that. She is worth every cent. We won my appeal within 2 days. theinsurancewwarrior.com. When was your surgery? March of 2020. Did you travel for surgery? Yes, I traveled over 800 miles for my specialist. I live in Southern Oregon, and I went down to San Diego. Did you fly there? No, we drove because I hate flying. I like to be able to stop when we want to stop, or not at all if we don't want to. And I like to have extra space in all of my stuff. So we brought a lot of stuff, and we had it all in our truck, and we had a rental house, and I just don't like flying. Did you lose your hair? No, it actually stopped falling out after this surgery. Again, everyone's different. What was prep like? I had to first meet with my surgeon, and he discussed what could possibly happen during my surgery and how long he thought it would be and where I'd be recovering. I'll get to that in a minute. And what tubes I would probably have and things like that. So I then met with the pre-anesthesia team, and I met a nurse there. I can't remember her name, but I met a nurse there that had had the same surgery for appendix cancer about 14 years prior. So that was pretty cool. I was then sent home with an antibiotic pill and this plastic gallon jug with powder that you add water to for bowel prep. So I spent the rest of that day before surgery taking showers, because they had a plan of when to take showers with special scrub and sponges, or soap and sponges, and on the toilet. Bowel prep is not fun. It's pretty miserable. I checked in early the next morning at like 5-something a.m. and I met a lot of people on the team. I met the anesthesia team. I had somebody come put my IV in and my epidural in my back. I always find that relaxing because I'm a weirdo. And then it was time for surgery. Did you need care after? We're all different. I'm a very independent person. And because of my timing, it was right at the beginning of COVID and everything was shut down. And I could tell the nurses were stressed. I had them teach me how to do things once I was more aware of what was going on. I had them teach me how to do some things that I could do to help relieve some stress on them. And they checked in on me and made sure that my timers were set on my phone. So I needed supervision once I was released, but I only needed my shower stool a few times for showering. I didn't need help other than that, or any devices other than that. Again, we're all different. Did you have an NG tube? No, I did not. San Diego does things, UC San Diego does things a little differently. So I was relieved because I've heard about that NG tube. Did you have staples? No, they used internal sutures and glue on me. Do you have a scar? Yes, I have a scar from under my breasts all the way down. I just don't have the staple scars. I guess a lot of people, those kind of disappear after a while anyway. So I still have the scar, but I was actually excited to get the staples because I had always been afraid of them until right before the surgery, but I didn't get them. How long did you have to wait to shower? 10 days. I had to wait 10 days. I did not get to shower until the day I was released. How long was your surgery? 14 hours. What was your PCI? My PCI, as noted in my op report, was 17. Did you have a complete cytoreduction? No, I did not. The tumors in my diaphragms went completely through on both sides of the diaphragms. So he could not remove everything because you can't remove the diaphragms. You can't breathe without them. So he removed everything he possibly could. And then he cauterized the entire surface of the diaphragm And we discussed it once I woke up. We hoped it would not come back, but we are aware that it probably could, and it looks like it most likely has come back on my diaphragms. I feel great though. So what happened during your surgery? I will have to do a separate video reading some of my op report and going into details because it's just so much. But I was covered in there, lots of peeling, scraping, burning. The last 1/3 of my small bowel was removed and my entire right colon, and the remaining bowel was connected to the remaining colon. My bladder had to be reconstructed, and a ureter had to be implanted in a new place into the bladder. My spleen was removed. I then had the HIPEC portion with mitomycin C. And with the bladder, I forget sometimes, but I had to leave with a stent that was removed 6 weeks after surgery. What was it like when you woke up? I woke up with my hands tied and on a ventilator. I was not prepared for this. I don't know how common this is for patients, but I was not expecting it for sure. And this was due to heavy diaphragm involvement. It was really scary and stressful for me because I did not know what was happening. And I was thinking that it spread to my lungs and I was going to die. There was no hope for me, and they were just keeping me alive long enough to say goodbye to my family. That's what was going on in my head, but that wasn't the case. And they didn't know that's what I was thinking. I was just told to keep breathing with the machine, and that after 2 hours, once I could prove that I could breathe on my own, they would take it out. So it was really stressful. My mom and my husband were in the room, and I couldn't see them because I couldn't look over to the side, but I could hear them. And every time one of them would talk, I would slip up and I would start choking, gagging, and I couldn't focus on breathing. And so my hubby, thankfully, he knows me so well that I don't even have to talk. He's just very aware of everything. He realized that I couldn't focus while they were in the room. And so they both left. And then I watched, there was a clock on the wall in front of me. I watched every second for 2 hours. I watched that clock. And then the next thing I know, I was being wheeled into the ICU. So I had tubes coming out of me from everywhere. I had a Foley catheter. I hated that thing. I had a JP tube, a chest tube, and a G tube that goes directly into the stomach rather than an NG tube. I also had the epidural. And eventually they had to put in a PICC line because I couldn't get blood out of my arm. And so I was nauseous a lot, and they used the PICC line to inject meds in there to stop that really quickly. When did your tubes come out? The chest tube was pulled out around day 3 or 4. The JP tube came out around day 6 or 7. The PICC line was removed right before I was released. And I left the hospital with the G tube and the Foley catheter. I had to take the Foley out on my own because of COVID. They just had everything shut down. So the urologist talked me through that. He told me how to do it over the phone. And then I did it and called him back and confirmed that I got it out on my own. So it was really easy. The G tube came out 2 days at the follow-up appointment. 2 days after, my surgeon pulled it out and it made a gurgling noise, and we both laughed. It was funny. It didn't hurt. It just felt kind of weird. The epidural came out on day 7. Did you have complications? I didn't really have complications. I mean, there were minor issues that I wouldn't really call complications, but my catheter kept getting clogged with blood clots. And if you have a catheter in and you feel like you have to pee, you need to let them know. So the nurses kept having to run around the hospital to find a special bladder ultrasound machine to see what was going on, because they couldn't just flush out the catheter because it would put liquid into my bladder, which we had to be really gentle with because it had just been reconstructed. So they had to get this machine, and it kept disappearing. And so they were always running around trying to find it. And then they would check, and then they would flush it out to get the clots out. So this all happened at the very beginning of COVID shutdowns. So that in itself was stressful and a complication. I was moved from Jacobs Medical Center ICU to UC San Diego Health, which is a building next door. They're connected through a breezeway, but I was put on the ortho ward. So I had amazing nurses, but I was a very high maintenance patient. And because of COVID, I could tell they were stressed out. I could tell people weren't coming in. I overheard nurses talking about how they were staying in the hospital, sleeping there, because if they left, they couldn't come back, and they wanted to make sure that patients had nurses. So seriously, heroes. I was moved over to Jacobs Medical Center around day 6 or 7. Fancy place. Everything's controlled by your tablet, the temperature, the lights, the TV, the curtains. Awesome. I ended up with oral thrush. It seems to happen whenever I take antibiotics, and I'm allergic to alcohol, so I couldn't use the treatment that they had. Thankfully, I had made my special mouthwash, and I used that, and it cleared it up within a couple of days. And also my blood pressure got really low because I needed to have a transfusion. They were hopefully that my body would fix it and I wouldn't need one, but I did. So on day 8 or 9, I had a transfusion. Otherwise, I would have left by then. When were you able to walk again? Day 6 or 7. And when did you stop taking pain meds? They removed the epidural on day 7, and I had no pain after that. I didn't even need Tylenol, and I know I'm not normal. When did your bowels wake up? Due to my surgery, my bowels woke up fast and fierce. I think it was day 3. I was really drugged up, so I'm not really clear. It would be more clear if my caregivers had been there with me, because I would have kept notes, but I couldn't, so I don't remember everything exactly. But I had severe diarrhea. Because of all the tubes coming out of my body, I couldn't reach the bathroom. Thank goodness the commode wasn't within reach, and that saved me, and I just kept it there. My bowels have been like this since surgery until recently. Things have changed. And I think I'm going to have to do video number 2 because this is getting long, so I'll do another video.